Hello, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is really, really exciting. I've got my podcast, Be Free with Jodie B on Spotify, but this is the first time I'm going to be sharing one of the podcasts with you, but via my YouTube. So you've got the video version. If you're looking for authenticity, that's me. I've just been for a run with the dog. I've just had a shower, no makeup on. I've got my mango smoothie here by the side of me, which is delicious, by the way. It's so creamy and nutritious. And I have actually posted it on here this morning. So if you haven't tried it, go make sure that you do that. I'm about to invite one of my clients into the Zoom. So let me just do that. Welcome to another episode of my podcast, Be Free with Jodie B, hosted by myself, Jodie Breakwell. You might be listening to this on Spotify or watching it on my YouTube channel. So I just want to say welcome and a massive thank you for listening or watching. If you have any questions, send me a DM on Instagram at JodieMB or you can leave a comment below and then I can answer any questions you may have. So this is the first time I'm posting on my YouTube channel, but I have released several episodes of my podcast on Spotify. But if you're new here and you have recently found my podcast or you're seeing me and listening to me for the first time, I'm Jodie. I'm an online nutrition coach and I'm becoming an expert in helping women lose fat in an enjoyable and sustainable way without restricting any foods that they love. So as you can see, I'm not alone for this episode. I'm actually being joined by a very special guest who I have actually spoken about recently on my socials. So Lottie is one of my clients inside of my program, and she's here today to discuss her journey so far, her struggles, her wins, and what she's learning about herself and nutrition. So Lottie, if it's okay with you as a starter, could you maybe just introduce yourself to the listeners and just tell them a little bit about you?
Yeah, of course. So hi everyone. So thanks for having me, first of all, Jodie. Um, yeah, so I'm Lottie. I'm 29 and I live in Mid Wales. I've got two small children. I've got a 4.5-year-old and a 5-month-old. And that's kind of me in a nutshell at the moment. I'm obviously on maternity leave. So I approached Jodie with one of her challenges that she was hosting, one of the 2-week challenges, and kind of I'd got to the point where I'd had enough with my weight, post baby weight and before I had my youngest. My weight was something that I wanted to kind of work on and shift to be more healthy for my little two, and for myself in the long run. So yeah, started working with Jodie, and it seems to be going really, really well so far. So it's not like something I've ever done before, and I'm kind of understanding the benefits of nutrition, how they impact your body, how they work within your body, and yeah, it's been really enjoyable, and it's given me the kick up the bum that I needed, to be honest.
No, thank you for that. Obviously, you said about your children when you came to me in the first place, when we had our first initial conversation, I think that was a big part of your why, wasn't it? Like the reason that you wanted to do this in the first place. Like being a mum is like a massive part of why you wanted to make a change, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I just, I don't know, I kind of felt myself getting bigger and bigger, and I'm definitely an emotional eater. So because I was feeling rubbish about myself, I was eating more.
Yeah.
And because obviously being a mum and things like that, I didn't have the opportunity to go out and go and exercise as freely as I used to before children and things like that. I was previously playing rugby and was able to get to the gym and go on runs and things like that. But obviously that all stops. Well, it doesn't have to stop, but it stopped for me, unfortunately.
Mm.
So yeah, it was, I kind of wanted to make that change for them more than anything. For example, I'd find myself getting breathless kind of going up the stairs, and I just wanted to be able to keep up with them and enjoy them without my health impeding on that, and having an impact on what I was able to do with them. I want to be able to enjoy them, and for them benefit from me being healthy, and for them to see the importance of that as well. So yeah, that was my main reason, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you said about like that vicious cycle, I mean, I've been there and I speak to loads of women daily who, have unfortunately experienced the same sort of thing where you feel obviously down about yourself and maybe the way that you're feeling and looking. And then a lot of the time, like we do turn to food for that kind of like, it's like a weird kind of like emotional support through eating, isn't it? But then obviously that doesn't help like how you're feeling. And it's just like a cycle, isn't it? Like a continuous thing. But was that like the main reason then why you decided to do the challenge in the first place? Was it for your kids, or, were you just wanting to, like, you saw it and you thought, you know what, like, I really want to make a change now?
Yeah, I think it came at the right time, because I was ready to make a change, and I'm gonna swear now, but I'd contemplated going back to Slimming World. So,
I was expecting an
um,
actual swear word then, which, by the way, you absolutely can on this. I do.
I'd contemplated on that, and I'd sort of looked at some of the sessions, and yeah, and I'd done it many times before, and it's like you said on your last podcast, if you're going back, it's obviously not worked and it's not
Yeah.
working. So
Mm.
yeah, the challenge came across at the right time, and I wanted something for me. Obviously I am a mum, and I was working previously before I was on leave and things like that, and it's yeah, I don't want that to be my identity. I wanted to have something that I could do for me, and I wanted to work on myself more so to prove to myself that I can do it, and I can feel better. um yeah, and just to invest in myself a little bit, really, because you do naturally get put at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
And yeah, you definitely. And then I think that COVID was a massive impact on me, I think, because I went from quite an active job to then working from home and things like that. So I'd gone from moving around quite a lot, and naturally having a high step count and things like that, to working from home. And I think because I was at home, I was like, oh well, I can eat this and I can eat that, and I wasn't having to prepare my lunch and take it with me. So that was a big shift. Or I'd work through my lunch break and then come to tea time, and I'd be like, oh, it's fine, I can eat so much because I hadn't had my lunch, and I just wasn't moving enough. So it was a combination of everything, really, plus baby weight and stuff. So yeah, it came across at the right time, and I was definitely ready. And I think my motivation has been maintained. So that's something that I've sometimes struggled with. I'll do a couple of weeks, and then it teeters off and falters off, and yeah,
Yeah.
I think, oh, I've lost half a stone. Oh, there we go. I've made progress now, and I go back to old ways. So yeah, we're a good fair few weeks in now, and I'm still pretty there. So
It's amazing, honestly. You're making such good progress. And I think, for those of you um, who don't know this, I suppose, when you took part in the challenge, you won that prize, didn't you, for like being like engaged in the group and stuff. And it was fully deserved, by the way, because you just took everything in your stride. I felt, you're really supportive to the other women in the group. And if someone was struggling with not being able to do this and that on like the tracking on MyFitnessPal, like you were really helpful in that kind of way. But how did it feel when you won that prize? Like, did that make you feel good?
yeah, it was lovely. I was in Tesco's at the time, and yeah, I
Really?
was walking around, and I could hear my phone pinging, and I thought, what's going on? And then one of the messages flashed up, and it was like, oh, well done, Lottie. And I thought, what's going on here? Yeah, and then opened your message. So no, it was lovely, and it felt really nice to kind of be recognised and rewarded for that, actually. So yeah, it was really good, and I really enjoyed the challenge because you had different tasks and different things to do each day, which was good. And then it's weird because they become part of your normal routine, don't they? For example, the drinking of the water, and tracking on MyFitnessPal and different things like that. So yeah, it was a really good sort of starting point. And yeah, obviously have continued.
Yeah, it is a great kickstart for sure. And then I mean, it's been said that it takes 18 days, for a habit to just kind of just be part of, it just like sticks. But I was talking about that on the Zoom last night with some of the ladies actually. Just that by, ticking off the four things that you're concentrating on really are obviously your steps, your water, calories, and your protein. And I think to begin with, that probably felt like big tasks, didn't it? Like to begin with, because you just weren't used to doing it. And then now I'm sure you'll probably, vouch for yourself and other ladies that it's just a part of your daily thing. It's just what you do now.
Yeah, definitely. I think the protein for me was the biggest one. I am a meat eater, but I don't think I was eating enough protein essentially, and I didn't understand the benefits of having a high protein diet and how that contributes to weight loss and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's just become part of my norm now. And I find myself like scanning, looking at labels and things like that when I go food shopping, and checking that it's high enough and things. Um, so yeah, I think that was probably the biggest adjustment that I had to make. But yeah, there's loads out there in terms of protein and things like that. And I found a protein powder that I like and stuff now. And yeah, kind of got into the rhythm of that. I have my protein porridge most mornings, and yeah, it ticks along it, and it does become the norm. But I think you initially have to put that effort in, and kind of keep ticking over on that, for it to become that norm for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think, I mean, like you say, the challenge, it gave you all those little daily things to kind of keep up with as well. But obviously, that's something that has continued for you within, doing the coaching. And you've got the group there as well, haven't you? And I think a lot of the ladies from that challenge obviously signed on one-to-one. So you're all kind of still in it together, which is really lovely because I think a lot of you made a kind of connection in that challenge that's continued, which as a coach for me, it's so lovely to see. Like, honestly, I think the community that's been built inside of the program is just amazing. Even if I can't, message back sometimes, you've all kind of got like each other's backs and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
just so nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. And it's refreshing sometimes to see different ideas and get different
Mhm.
meal ideas from each other, and yeah, and celebrate each other's success as well, really. That's
Yeah.
a really big part of it. And it's really nice to be able to do that with other people, and people that you don't necessarily know, essentially. It feels nice to have that support and to give that support out as well, I think.
Yeah. So when you obviously finished the 2-week challenge, that was back in January now, wasn't it? What kind of, I don't know, what gave you the like boost to sign up with me one-to-one? Like for the listeners, could you give them an idea, like the differences? Because there is quite a big difference, but they might not know that listening. So can you give them an idea of like why you decided to kind of sign up with me and the benefits that you've had, from the challenge to now?
Yeah, definitely. So I could see changes already happening,
Yeah.
after the 2 weeks. So that's in terms of weight loss. I couldn't necessarily see how my body was changing at that point. But since signing up and continuing, I've definitely seen changes in my body in terms of like how I look and things like that. So previously I was sort of always wearing big baggy clothes to hide myself, always wearing dark colours and stuff. Whereas now I've kind of gained a little bit more confidence, and I'm sort of going out there a little bit more with wearing fitted clothes,
Yeah.
and it's really nice now because people are starting to notice that I've lost a little bit of weight, and I'm getting a couple of comments, and I find that a massive motivational boost. It's
That feels
someone said to me the other day, "Oh, you've lost weight in your face." And I thought, "Oh, thanks."
amazing.
um, so yeah, in terms of that, it's kind of given me that confidence to continue, and that motivation to continue, even on the days where they're not all great, even on the days where you're sort of struggling a little bit, and yeah, you're having a bit of a meh day. You can have that day, and then you just get back on it the next day, and it's accepting that. um yeah, so physical changes, my mental changes have been massive as well. I think I'm kind of investing in myself, as I mentioned before. um
Oh, has it stopped?
is it glitched?
It did.
Are you back?
Yeah, there we go. You were just saying that investing in yourself, as you mentioned before. That's what I got to, what I heard.
Yeah, so obviously mentioned about investing in myself, and the mental shift as well has been substantial. I think that I've maintained that motivation, and I'm there mentally at the moment, and I feel better in myself. I've got more energy. I'm looking forward to getting out for walks and things like that. I'm looking forward to moving my body. I do kind of want to incorporate some more cardio at some point. Just hoping that the weather gets a little bit better before I decide to start that.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's been some massive changes. And yeah, it's kind of all going in the right direction, which is nice. And although the numbers on the scales for me are going down, I'm seeing changes in much different ways. And
yeah,
I think
more than that,
the
isn't it?
the biggest shift for me is I would get hooked on the numbers on the scales, and I know you've spoke about this previously, but when I did Slimming World, I'd lose half a pound one week, and then I'd think, oh, do you know what? I've only lost half a pound. What's the point? I'll go and binge a pizza tonight, or I'll go and get a takeaway, and
Mhm.
you're just back in that rut, aren't you? So I've seen changes in my measurements, obviously people's comments, and then in my images as well, when I've done my comparison photos. So
Yeah.
it's for me, it's not just being about the numbers on the scales this time, which has been what's refreshing, and yeah, of seeing it from all angles, which is much better.
No, that's honestly amazing because, it is about kind of like making that mindset shift, isn't it? And it's really, really hard because, like, as you know, I've been really transparent with you ladies that I've been through that myself. Like, I did Slimming World, like, I know what it's like to get on the scales and not see much of a change. And, because obviously now, you're using the scales more of a tool to kind of
Yeah,
like monitor progress, aren't you? But I was just so I don't know, I was really touched when you sent the pictures because normally like that it's me sending you the pictures like, oh, look at the changes. But when I got that picture, I was just so like happy for you. And we've not really, when you think about, the time that we've been working together, it hasn't really been that long. So the fact that you've made those changes already, is just, I just think it's incredible. And like you say, if you said to someone weight wise what it was, maybe because of Slimming World and all that, because it's like like £5 a week or whatever, it wouldn't sound that much. And then when you look at inches, like 10 inches, pictures looking different, energy going up, like those things are massive and much
yeah,
more than a
definitely.
number on the scales, aren't they? So
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's what I appreciate so much more this time. With trying to lose fat and things like that. It's yeah, definitely what I appreciate, and that's how my mind shifted. And yeah, it's for the better, definitely for the better.
that's so good. And for anybody listening who hasn't seen Lottie's progress so far, please go and have a look at my Instagram and show us some love because it's just incredible. Um,
Mhm.
but you said about bef you mentioned about investing in yourself and that being like an important thing. And because I think as a mum, you do kind of put yourself to the bottom of that priority list, don't you? Um, so is there anything, I don't know, that you could maybe share to somebody who's on the fence at the moment and they're not really, I don't know, prioritizing themselves? Maybe some advice to maybe any mums that are listening and just think that like other things are more important and need to come first.
Yeah, definitely. I think that making small changes, even if they're only small and minor to begin with, can have more of an impact than what you realise.
Mm,
I think kind of getting out for those walks and just moving a little bit is so underestimated. I think when we think about exercise, we think about going into a fitness class, or going for a 10-mile run. We think extreme, and I think walking and everything else is really underestimated. It's definitely helped me kind of mentally and physically. So if you can just start small and get out and do little things like that, um, for people that are sort of sitting on the fence, I think, and it sounds really cliche, but if I can do it, then anyone can, because I'm so busy all of the time. Previously, before I had children, I was working two jobs. I was doing a degree. I did my degree while I was pregnant. Um, So yeah, I'm always on the go, and I think that was the problem I put myself at the, and more important too. And I think it's important to want better health for yourself or for your children or for your partner or what have you. Obviously your family and your loved ones are going to want you around for many years to come. So I think it's important to invest in yourself. But yeah, like I say, if anyone can do it, then if I can do it, then anyone can do it. Sorry, it's yeah, definitely
Yeah.
one, and to give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it is really important. I mean, not just kind of because I know a lot of women maybe want to start a journey like this for, aesthetics because they're not happy with how they look and things like that. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's like things you've mentioned, like wanting to be like a role model for your children and be able to run around and climb those stairs without being out of breath. So it does come down to more than one aspect, doesn't it? Like health, how you're feeling, maybe how you're looking as well, but it comes down to that confidence as well, doesn't it? And, a
Yeah,
number of ladies since starting with me, they've even said, like, even from my coaching and listening to the podcast and things, that they didn't actually realize how, I don't know how long really that they've not been prioritizing themselves for. And it's not just about wanting to look and feel a certain way, it's that mindset as well. And it's really, really important, isn't it? I always say that mental health and physical health, they are both equally important, and they kind of like come together on like a journey like this, don't they?
definitely. Yeah. I think, and I know previously before I started the 2 week challenge with yourself, I would kind of like dread walking past a mirror, walking past shop windows and things like that, and how I looked was a massive part of it. And I know I said I've got a lot of events on over the summer and things like that I wanted to look good for, but I've kind of, yes, I still want to look good for those, but I have shifted my mindset in that I want this to be a long-term thing. I don't want to just look good for the summer and then let things slip back. I want it to be a continued process, and
Mm.
for it to be my norm to look after myself, and to be a priority in my own life as well. I think that's really important, definitely. And I think that comes naturally inside the program as well. I think you've got to be ready if you want to lose fat and things like that. I don't think there's any point in starting it if you're not ready and you just think, oh, I'll give it a go.
No, you
Because
might.
it is a massive
Yeah.
it's a massive motivational boost, and yeah, it's if you're ready, then you are going to see changes and benefit from it, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's, really interesting what you've just said, and it's completely true about it being like it turns into just like a lifestyle. Like I don't even like the word diet anymore. It's just a part of hopefully it'll just be part of your life, of your routine. And, I was explaining to Fionn when she was a guest on my podcast a couple of episodes back that, when you get to the end of like the fat loss phase, obviously there will be breaks in between, but when you like get to the point where you're really happy, it's then really important, to get your calories, back up to kind of your maintenance so your body doesn't plateau. And then it's all about kind of like weaning off the tracking and everything, because that's obviously a really great tool and amazing, like you said, to see how much protein you're getting and the right nutrients, etc. But we don't want to be tracking forever. So it's about learning all those things as you're going through. But honestly, I'm really proud of the progress that you're making so far. I genuinely am. And the fact that you've said that, you're still feeling like really motivated and happy with your progress. And obviously you've got your check-in this morning to tomorrow, which I always look forward to check-ins because I can really see how I can help if I need to make any changes. But it's more like I love reading like your wins and things like that, because first week, even compared to now, is just so, so different. which is,
Definitely.
you should be really proud of that,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I am. And I think going back to tracking and my fitness pal and stuff, I think that can be quite daunting initially,
Yeah,
having to weigh your food and track your food and things like that. But it's actually really interesting to see. And I know I've said this about pasta with you before, that I'd just like chuck a load of pasta in the
right.
saucepan, and when I would weigh it, I'd be like, oh my God, that's enough for like 3 people that I've just eaten and stuff. So it's crazy. But I think that, and the beauty of my fitness pal is it remembers what you've been logging. So if you have regular foods that you're eating,
Yeah,
it's really handy in that it keeps them stored. So yes, it is a pain initially to go on my fitness pal and start logging and stuff, but it's actually really useful to do and to keep using. And yeah, it does get easier in terms of that as well, which is probably something that's worth mentioning.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And, um, I think to begin with, like I've mentioned this before, I'm sure I have on a podcast somewhere, but I actually had a friend who, she's like really, really tall, and her maintenance, and deficit calories, they're high because of that reason. And she needs like more food. And her deficit was like really, really high. And she said, oh, there's no way I'm eating that amount of food, but she wasn't tracking all of those things that maybe we forget about sometimes. Like if somebody maybe who isn't tracking has the same sort of food and they think they're having a certain amount, and then they actually track it, they actually see what they're eating. And I'm talking, like your sauces and your spreads and oils and things like that. I remember when I first started tracking, I didn't realize those things can like really add up, can't they? So it's about being mindful, and accurate as you can be to begin with what you're actually consuming.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the beauty of it is you can still factor in. So for example, I went to Nando's the other day. I've had takeaways. I've been to the beach and had fish and chips. You can still factor in the things that you enjoy. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, that if all of the joy and the food that I enjoy and everything had been sort of sucked out on this diet, I don't think I'd have stuck at it. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that you can still eat things that you enjoy, but it is just about being more mindful. And yeah, I completely agree, like with sauces and things like that, it's crazy to see how much is in different sauces and yeah, oils and stuff. So yeah, it definitely does help to see those when you do track them and things like that. It's worth doing.
Yeah. Going back to what you just said then about, the fish and chips and Nando's and things like that, obviously within my coaching, for again, this, but for anybody listening who doesn't know this, it's all about, finding balance. And, the key is moderation when it comes to your nutrition, really. The fact that Lottie's been able to celebrate, I think it was Mother's Day, wasn't it, when you went for like fish and chips by the sea? It was Mother's Day, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. So the fact that you're able to still do those things and make those memories with your family and still achieve these goals, like that's what it's all about. And that's why it is a lifestyle. And I'm sure, if you were still doing something like Slimming World, you'd have either felt guilt and shame around that meal that you had, or you'd have
definitely.
restricted yourself and told yourself that you weren't allowed it when you absolutely are, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it you gave me quite a big mind shift when you said that. You kind of it's a lifestyle, and you are allowed to make those memories along the way and still eat those foods and enjoy them. And yeah, it was kind of like a penny drop moment, like, oh yeah, of course I can, sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was really refreshing as well. It's nice to know that I can still enjoy myself and not have to, yeah, torture myself and count sins and yeah, feel guilty.
And well, like I say, I've been there. I was at a point where I was saying no to social events and meals and things like that because I was so anxious when it came to like foods, when I obviously wasn't in like a great mental space a long time before I became a coach. So that's like a really important, I'm really glad that I'm giving you that freedom, and you're learning that already, because it is so, so important. And it's about like looking at facts as well. You know, the fact that a pound of fat, for example, has like 3,500 calories. So when you're looking at like a meal now and again or drinks with your friends, it's very unlikely you're going to be consuming that amount of calories anyway. But even if you are, just, you know, enjoy the memory. Just, yeah, enjoy it, because like I've said, when you're older, yeah, you're going to think back at the amazing progress that you're making throughout this journey, but at the same time, you're not going to be looking back thinking about the number that was on that scale. You're going to be looking back at the memories that you made and stuff like that. So we can't, you know, restrict ourselves and not give ourselves those memories just because of, I mean, I think our diet culture is like, it's got a massive part to play, hasn't it? So it's just about balance, isn't it? You know, like after you had that meal, you know, you didn't restrict, you know, or feel guilty the next day, did you? You just kind of like just got back on with like your usual routine. That's what it's about.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's yeah, I think it's really important that you still kind of have those moments to enjoy and yeah, eat what you want. Um and it makes you more motivated to stay on it, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that I'd have been able to stick with if I had to withdraw all the things that I enjoy. Definitely not.
No, and I mean, I think everybody's got their kind of like go-to craving food kind of thing. So it is about, you know, filling your meals with, you know, high protein, high fiber, nutritious meals, still tasty, but then that 20% being that whatever, like, for example, for me, it's chocolate. It probably will always be chocolate. So I make sure that I have like a little bit of that every single day. And then I'm not feeling deprived or restricted in any kind of way. Like I know a lot of us have a bit of chocky, like on our breakfast, you know, don't we? Like the recipes that I've got inside the program. Um, but you know, that Weetabix you had the other morning looked quite nice actually.
Yeah, it was nice. I think Biscoff spread has become a staple in my cupboard now.
Love this stuff. It's so good.
It's yeah, it is nice. Yeah.
What would you say that your do you have any like go-to recipes, like from, you know, ones that I've kind of shared with you that you've, I don't know, like stuck to and altered a little bit, or do you, I don't know, do
Um,
you
I the sweet chili wrap that you make, that you posted the recipe for, I quite often go to a protein wrap for lunch because it's a quick and easy one.
is, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'd say I adapt those. For example, I'll have them with like cheese and chicken and pesto and things like that. Um, the breakfast ideas, so with the overnight Weetabix and things like that, I'll have occasionally. I think that'll be one that I go to when it's a little bit warmer.
Mm.
For me, it's kind of been all about like the porridge and the nice warming food at the
More
minute.
warming, isn't it? Yeah, no, 100%. The weather's
But
not been
no,
great.
it's not been great. But yeah, and the porridge, the protein porridge, I think that's one I've nailed now, and it's one that is so filling.
Yeah,
And I'm really enjoying it. I would never have been a porridge lover before now, but yeah, I think I've got that down to a T for myself now. So yeah, that's my go-to at the minute. But yeah, it's and I made the sausage rolls the other day actually. And they're so easy to make, and
aren't
I think
they?
my other half ate 90% of them, to be honest. I think I had one out of the batch that I made, but yeah, they were really, really nice.
They're so
So
easy
that
to make, aren't they? Like I was, you know, like I say, just kind of like messing around. And when I made them for the first time, you know, I couldn't believe actually how similar they actually are to a sausage roll without the
yeah, yeah.
it's mad.
And all you needed was sausage meat, a wrap, and an egg. It was
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, no, they're really nice. And I do want to make one of the cakes, probably the lemon one. So that might be on my to-do list at the weekend. And I've made the protein crispy cakes as well. And they're really good. Yeah, so I've made a lot. I dip in and out. I'm not a baker, if I'm honest. So we'll see how the cake.
Yeah. I think it's obviously about time for you as well, obviously, because you're a busy mum. It's quite nice maybe sometimes to like find a recipe that you enjoy and kind of like batch cook it, and then you've got it then for like the next couple of days, or some of the snacks you can make and then save in the fridge for like another day, and then it's easy to just like pull them out and have. And obviously I do like baking, to be fair, and that's why I have been enjoying being in the kitchen. Like I've made like a new high protein granola for like toppings for porridge and things, and flapjack, and it's just about trying to find things, if you have the time to make them, that are cheaper as well, because a lot of the protein snacks you can buy, as nice as they are, they're not very cheap a lot of the time.
No, no, they're not. And I think that's probably one thing, like when I've spoken to my mum before and said about like high protein and things like that, and she said, oh, but it's so expensive. And
Mm.
um it doesn't have to be.
So
I think the one beauty is definitely protein powder. Yes, you have that initial outlay of buying a powder, but when you get one that's kind of that you like and that you don't mind having, I think that makes a massive difference. But yeah, it's like the bars and things like that are quite expensive. But there's little things out there, isn't there? For example, the protein yogurts that are really high in protein that you can get,
yeah, they're
and
great
um,
actually.
the Aldi wraps. I buy the high protein Aldi wraps, and I think there's 6 in a pack and they're about £1. And obviously that'll do 6 meals essentially. Because if I have one of
Mm.
those for lunch every day or something, um, so yeah, there's little things out there. But yeah, it can be expensive, but I think it's expensive as you make it, isn't it? And if you can do things like the sausage rolls and the cakes and things like that, and have those snacks readily available, you don't necessarily need the bars and the things that are more expensive.
So yeah, that's completely true. And like that's why obviously I like to put the higher protein like snacks together. But then the meals and stuff as well, they're just naturally high in protein anyway. If you're like a meat eater, especially like yourself, you're going to be getting that protein in if you're having your chicken in your wrap and your protein porridge in the morning. And okay, so I know we've spoken a bit about food and stuff like that. And obviously there's like a lot of different parts to my coaching, where obviously we've got the group chat, and then we have our weekly Zooms, and obviously they're recorded so you can listen back to them. And then we've got our check-ins and daily challenges. What would you say is like your favorite thing, like about the program?
Um, oh, that's a difficult one. I
Mm.
think for me, it's probably the check-ins. I think because then you can see your progress for that week. And then obviously you get your feedback and things like that, which I think is kind of invaluable, really.
Yeah,
I think that probably alongside the support within the program, I think having yourself accessible, and especially over the weekends and things like that,
yeah.
it makes a massive difference. And it's yeah, you're always on hand, and the support from the other people, um, I think is yeah, it's beneficial, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think I probably opened up to you about this when we first had a conversation, that I've had a few coaches. I think I've had like 3 or 4 coaches now throughout the years, and none of them have been accessible over the weekends. And that's why I want to make sure that I am, because when I was going through my journey, that would be the time of the week, probably more than any, if I'm honest, where I may need that support and guidance when it comes to that meal out, or um, I don't know, not knowing the calories in a meal and someone telling me that's okay. Someone to kind of like guide you through that. And that's obviously
Yeah.
why I make sure that I am accessible, but also why I ask in the check-in whether you've got any weekend plans, so I can help you in the best way that I can.
Really starting to wean, and um various different plans that I've got on and things like that, and whatever crops up always gets acknowledged, so it's not like you're having to sort of go back and chase and things like that, and any questions that you have are answered, or they're answered within the Zoom meetings and stuff. So yeah, it all comes together, and it comes together really well, I think.
Well, thank you, Lottie. That honestly, it really does mean a lot. That means a lot to me. It just, obviously I know that you're making the progress anyway, and that's amazing. But the fact that, that you feel like you can be open and honest with me and that I'm there to help you, like that's like a massive part of it, because like the more open and honest you can be, the more that I can help you, and the fact that you feel like you're getting that help is, it's what it's all about, isn't it? Was why I ended up being a coach in the first place. So that's really nice to hear.
No problem.
So I'm gonna close this episode soon, but it's been so lovely to chat to you, and I can't believe like Tilly's been asleep the whole time, so there haven't been like
It's been
any.
really good.
She says like with a few.
It's either that or my monitor's not working.
But yeah, I just wanted to just if it's okay with you, I just wanted to read a bit of your testimonial that you wrote out to me. And I know this was a while back now, and if there's anything you want to add, then please do. But I've just got it on my screen. So is it okay with you if I read it out?
Yeah, of course.
Lovely. So I've shortened it down a little bit, but you said, before starting, I felt constantly lethargic and I was in a vicious cycle of just grabbing food as I went, not being mindful of how much I was consuming, and often comfort eating. My confidence was at an all-time low, and I worried about the effects of my weight on my health and how this would impact me in the future. I hated that my clothes didn't fit, and I never really felt nice in anything that I put on. My mindset, so this was after the challenge, has shifted completely, and I now enjoy fueling myself with nutritious meals that fill me for longer, but still allow myself to have treats. I've learned it's all about balance, which is key. My confidence has started to shift in a positive direction. I signed up to take part in a Pilates class, which is something I'd have avoided when feeling so sluggish due to not having the energy to go. My overall energy levels have improved massively. I've learned about the benefits of balancing a healthy lifestyle, that fat loss is achievable without being restrictive and cutting food groups. And I've learned that planning is key, and by planning ahead, it allows you to feel more in control. And I think that probably still stands now, doesn't, a lot of what you've said throughout this episode without even, before reading that, you've mentioned a lot of those things. So clearly that's not how you were just feeling then, but you've continued to feel in that way throughout, which is obviously massive.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It makes me feel a bit sad to hear how I was feeling before I started the challenge, actually, because it was all quite doom and gloom, wasn't it? But I'm still only just beginning, but hopefully going in the right direction. That's what I keep saying.
No, 100%. And I just wanted to mention as well that I was actually having a look at the notes that we had on our first conversation, in preparation for this. And you actually mentioned wanting to, that your shorter term goal when we were discussing that was to get into pairs of jeans and things like that. And so, can you just share like how it made you feel when you actually put, those jeans on and they were actually feeling a bit loose? I bet that just felt amazing.
Yeah, they were massive. They're not wearable. They're that big now, which
That's
is
mad.
and I joked and said that it's normally the other way. Everything is normally too small. So it felt really, really kind of, and that was a massive motivational kick up the bum for that week, actually. It felt really, really nice. I mean, it's a pain, so I've got to go out and buy more jeans and stuff now. But I've just been living in leggings and baggy clothes and things like that. So when I decided to actually put some jeans on and do something with myself for that day, it was a really big shock. It was a massive shock, and a really good and welcome one. And it just showed that it is working, and it's kept me ticking along, really. I'm debating on keeping them, and then when I get to the end, hopefully I can can see how well I've done, because there was a time when they were tight as well, actually. So
I
yeah,
would
it
I
feels
would honestly, like, obviously not for every every pair of jeans you have or whatever, but I would genuinely recommend keeping a pair, because that's something that I never did that, and I think that it would be amazing now to kind of put them on and see like the changes that I've made. So maybe, you know, like keep them for now, because like you say, we're just getting started, and the fact that they're loose already is just, it's just incredible.
yeah, definitely.
But it probably feels a little bit inconvenient, doesn't it? But like hopefully, like by like the end of your journey and stuff, you can treat yourself to like a bit of a shopping trip, and, you know, buy those things that you've not wanted to kind of like wear before. That can be like your
Yeah,
sort of
I'm
thing.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, it's honestly been so lovely chatting to you today. I've really enjoyed it. You know, because obviously like we do talk you know, in like the hub and Zooms and stuff like that, but it was just nice to have like a proper one-on-one conversation and just hear how you're
Definitely.
really feeling, which obviously it's like all positives, which is amazing. But you know, I just want to say, like, yeah, thanks for coming on, but you should genuinely be feeling like really proud of yourself. And, you know, I just, for people listening who maybe were feeling the way that you were feeling before, you know, and you said that you were feeling uncomfortable and lethargic and not really liking what you saw and feeling out of breath and things like that, this kind of episode, it might be the thing that somebody really needs to hear. Um, you know, so not only does this kind of thing give an insight into somebody on my program, but what's achievable, because you're literally doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's literally coming from somebody who's on that journey, and they're making the progress whilst still enjoying like their life, and you're a busy mum on top of everything else. You know, you're still doing it.
Yeah, definitely. It is achievable. If you want it enough, then definitely it is achievable.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anything that you want to add, you know, before I kind of close this episode and leave you to enjoy the rest of your day?
No, I don't think so. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for your input as well. I think yeah, it's definitely useful for me to have some accountability, and to have you there. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely helped. So no, thank you. That's all I've got to say, I think. But no, thanks for having me on. And yeah, I really hope it does resonate with some people, and that they can sort of, for anyone that is sitting on the fence, can feel like they can reach out and make those changes for themselves as well.
Mm. What would you say to anybody sitting on the fence at the moment? Like what would you say to anybody who's, I don't know, maybe listening to this and they're not quite sure? What advice would you give to them?
I think if you're ready, sort of mentally, to make those changes, then give it a go. I think that you'll shock yourself when you start tracking, and you start looking after yourself a little bit. You'll shock yourself how quickly you'll kind of get into that rhythm, and it does become your norm. Um, it does require effort, but I think if you put that effort in, then you definitely do see those benefits. And the
Mm.
changes, although initially it feels like, oh, nothing's changing quick enough, and they do come pretty quick. You can sort of see the changes in your body, and how you feel, I think, is the biggest change, and the one that probably comes first. I think with drinking the water and things like that, it's yeah, you do notice those changes pretty rapidly. And I think it's worth it. It's completely and utterly worth it. And yeah, I think you'd struggle not to make progress on the program, definitely.
Oh, thank you, Lottie. That's, you know, that's amazing. And like I say, if there's anybody listening to this and, you know, you need a bit of help with fat loss, maybe you've resonated with what Lottie was saying about like Slim and Willed, or thinking that, you know, you can't go and enjoy these meals out or celebrate, then, you know, please get in touch. Or even if you're somebody who, you know, doesn't have like the best relationship with food at the moment, and you think that the only way to lose weight is to not enjoy the foods that you love. Lottie is literally proof right here on this call. She's still enjoying going out for meals and, like I say, enjoying meals with inside the program and her favorite food. So please get in touch with me if any of it's resonated with you, or maybe even if you know of somebody. But I'm pretty easy to get hold of. I'm on Instagram at Jodie B Fitness. As a footnote to everything, I just want to say that if you're listening to this and you felt like Lottie did, maybe you were lacking in confidence and energy and maybe knowledge around nutrition, DM me the word podcast at Jodie B Fitness on Instagram and I'll get in touch with you. Or you can alternatively click on the link in my bio and fill out an online inquiries form. And again, I will get in touch with you. If you're tired of yo-yo dieting, trying different shakes, clubs, and the weight just won't budge, or maybe you think you have to ditch your favorite foods to lose weight, or maybe you want to improve that relationship with food, then my coaching is for you. Please let me show you that you can enjoy life and make memories at the same time as achieving amazing results. I've been there and I honestly know how difficult it can be asking for help, but I think it's the best thing you can do for your health and your happiness. And like Lottie was saying, remember that you are important, you are a priority, and you deserve happiness and to feel your best self. And I want to help you get there to being your happiest and healthiest self. Yes, so if you're interested, then please get in touch with me, or you can book a free call. DM me the word call, and I'll see how I can help.